I have long been an over-the-counter junkie of sorts, and searched lots of websites on information on obtaining legal highs. I've exceeded the dosage on my ADD pills, and I've also experimented with DXM before, and was somewhat disappointed. I would take 20-something gel caps and chug a bottle of cough medicine at once, and end up with unexpected results. It was like feeling drunk in a bad way, and things such as wooden doors seemed drippy with the occasional sight of colours. Well, one day after a day of summer school without weed, I remember talking to my friend Ted about how Dramamine can get you high. I researched this and eventually became more interested in doing Benadryl over this, although I don't remember exactly how. Anyway, I was bored, so I decided to raid my medicine cabinet and found a cocktail of over-the-counters. I started by taking 15 Benadryls, 375mg, 5 Concerta ADD pills, 36mg each, then chugging a bottle of cough syrup along with 16 gel caps of DXM. Note, I had already taken 2 Concertas that morning as usual. After about 30 minutes, or less, I felt the DXM hit me, but a little differently this time. I was sitting at my desk talking to a friend on AIM about what I did. I saw some interesting visuals, but nothing major. My bed appeared to be floating, and I saw flashes of colours in my peripheral vision. This was really cool and I was pretty excited about this. However, it didn't take long for the drugs to overcome me, and about an hour or so after taking all of this, I got really tired and dozed off to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, I had the most intense, realistic experience of my life concerning any drug I've ever taken. I don't think that I could describe to you how intense it was. My head felt normal and I felt completely fine. I was very disappointed that I fell asleep and I was awake earlier than normal. I started thinking really hard and trying to trip in a sort of way, and it all progressively came on. I was staring at my ceiling and noticed a few flies on it. Nothing unusual, I thought. For some reason, I started thinking about how all these flies formed on the window in the movie The Exorcist, and wouldn't you know it, millions of them started forming and spreading across my ceiling. My paranoia of bugs made me think they were crawling on me, and I started writhing frantically. After a little bit, this wore off. I decided to get ready for school, so I turned on the light next to my bedstand and got startled a little. The shadows cast from the lights formed outlines of demons, demon eyes, demon bodies, demon faces with horns. I saw at least 10 or 20 demon shadows in my room. Since this always kind of interested me though, I was slightly intrigued yet a little shaken. I shook it off as a coincidence, but then things intensified. I noticed millions of little orbs and rods flying across my room from the hallway back and forth. Literally millions. But I really could only see them as flashes of light at first, and then kind of vibrated my eyes back and forth to clearly see them. Still, I was intrigued, being the supernatural enthusiast that I am. Not that I wasn't scared, I was still reasonably calm considering what was happening, but my heart was pounding pretty hard. What happened next was what really scared the shit out of me. I walked out into the kitchen to get a drink, and in the window was an alien. Kind of what you'd see in pictures, except this one stared at me with evil eyes. He kept shape-shifting too. Sometimes he'd have horns, other times he wouldn't. His bone structure would shift and he was eventually accompanied by a midget hooded alien looking just as evil. You'd think this would be funny, but to see it plain as day staring at you is pretty scary. After this I freaked out completely. I woke my parents up and told them what I saw, and I looked right at them but they didn't see anything. I was spazzing out somewhat, yelling, "How the hell can you not see them?" After that I walked back in my room and walked up to one of my windows. In the reflection I saw a decapitated baby arm laying next to my feet, and a demon eating it. I remember kicking on the ground and actually feeling the arm too. I told my parents that I only took some cold medicine the previous night, which they believed. My parents had me stay home from school that day and called my grandma to come over and watch me for the day as well. They said my pupils were huge. I saw aliens everywhere. In every reflection, every shadow, every pattern, there was some form of an alien. I even watched The Simpsons and there were animated aliens in the cartoon. I asked my dad for the digital camera too, and I took pictures of what I saw. When I looked through the lens facing my backyard, there were hundreds of them walking around casually. Some were calm and nice, while others were scary, evil looking. When I'd take a picture of them, it'd show up different than when I first saw them. They'd change shape in the picture, and then again when I looked at the picture again. Sometimes they smiled or posed in funny ways, which eased my tensions a little bit. My grandma definitely helped out a lot. She told me to just relax and calm down and prayed for me too. She's very religious. It was kind of weird when I did this, because when I relaxed, the evil look on their faces instantly transformed into a smile, and the alien would disappear and a new one would spawn. It was kind of like in one of those movies where people fall in love and it plays that stupid classic love song. Well, the rest of the day wasn't much different. I laid down and saw reflections of aliens on my shoulders, and occasionally I'd feel slimy hands touching me, but as long as I relaxed, I kept it under control and was eventually able to sleep. I went to the doctor's office and my counsellor that day as well, and was told I'd be fine and just needed to relax, sleep, rest, and that sort of thing. I also saw this weird shadow of a gnome holding a knife as well. That day was pretty scary, but I also saw some funny things too. The first evil alien I saw in my kitchen window at one point was holding and smoking a crack pipe. I also saw an alien having sex with a chipmunk next to the shed in my backyard. I was still shaken though, and every reflection and shadow held an image of an alien. I know this is a highly unusual experience, but it actually happened. I went to bed, and the next morning the hallucinations were gone. What a relief. Story 2. Okay, well, being the smart person that I am, I decided to try Benadryl again. I bought some at my local pharmacy and was ecstatic. I decided to take it alone this time, with the exception of my daily dose of 2 36mg Concertas. I did it before a youth group at my church, figuring this would provide a good trip this time. I arrived an hour early to church and already took the Benadryls, 500mg all at once, and decided to take a walk back into the backwoods behind the church as I usually do. There is a trail that leads to a field about 200 yards back. I lit up a cigar and smoked about half of it while I was back there, and cranked my MP3 player to techno music and a little grunge. I was feeling a nice cigar buzz as normal, and it was getting dark, so I started walking back. I stopped where I could see the church and was at the opening of the field. I called up my friend about something completely erroneous and started tripping while on my cell phone. I saw some aliens again, but this time I just laughed because I was used to it and didn't care much. I saw the outline of the Grim Reaper in the trees and didn't care much either. Hell, I was having a blast. I still had a cigar in my hand and some other kids were walking towards me, so I stuffed it in my pocket. It burned out, and casually paced. The girl among the two commented on my shirt, which was cool and made me happy because she was pretty hot. I started walking back and thought I saw my friend walking with a cop, but it turned out to be his girlfriend, which was very weird. I sat down in the church when I got back and saw fun stuff. The floor was moving and people's reflections in one of the windows by me were acting completely different from what the actual people were doing, and it was really funny. Sometimes there were reflections of people and things that weren't actually there. I really enjoyed it this time though, go figure. The only problem I had that night was that the pastor's son kept shoving green Play-Doh in my hair and telling me I smelled like smoke, which I did badly, but didn't faze me too much. I went to bed and took 600mg the next morning before school. I saw similar stuff, mostly moving floors and shifting patterns, no aliens though. Both of these times were fun, but it ended by 9th period. I was tired and took a nap when I got home. The second and third time were wicked fun, probably because I got used to it and I didn't mix it with DXM or something like that. I should also state that I've smoked lots of marijuana in my past. Smoked cigars, cigarettes, sniffed pain pills, a little coke, a tiny bit of shrooms, very bad cow dung shrooms. Done DXM a few times, had incredibly high amounts of caffeine in the form of coffee and pills together, taken 12 plus ADD pills at once with caffeine too, and have drank a lot of alcohol. My tolerance to drugs is pretty high from all of this, and possibly genealogy, not to mention that I'm a considerably heavy guy.